Hi, thanks for joining me and welcome back if you're a repeat visitor. So today I'm talking about an absolutely brand new release, well, a brand new reissue of this album here, Tracy Chapman's debut solo album, which was, I think, was it 1988, released on the Elektra label. This is my EU original, pressed in Germany, and it's, you know, ever since release, it's been an absolute favourite. It's a hell of an album. I think Bob Dylan would have been proud to have written this. I think most people would have done, really. It's an absolutely phenomenal album. And here we have, to celebrate its 35th anniversary, we've got this copy here. Sorry, I literally haven't even taken them out the shrink yet, but 35th anniversary. And this is pressed, cut by Bernie Grundman. And that's kind of quite interesting because it's, you know, it's cut from, I believe, the same EQ'd master that Bob Ludwig made. But don't forget, it's a digital recording and digital mix. So this is sort of DDA, if you're talking in the Spar's language. You know, so what does this sound like? And I will go on and I'll talk a little bit about that. But I also just want to mention, because it doesn't end there, so there's our black one, which here in the UK, my local shop, was $31.99. Also, $36.99. And this is, I believe, a bricks and mortar retail store exclusive on Opaque deep red vinyl. And I'll show you that. So here we go. That's the Opaque deep red vinyl version. And now, I bought both because following on from my Tori Amos and you know, the Cure recent explorations, that the different vinyl colours seem to have, you know, in certain instances different sounds, and in both those instances I preferred the coloured to the black. Now that's what I want to talk about really, is the difference in sound between the red one, the black one, and the original. Okay, so first of all, I played the original all the way through, and it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful record, as I say, I'm sure you all know. It's hugely open, it's hugely spacious. I mean, if we just go from the start, talking about A Revolution, it starts off with just sort of vocal and acoustic guitar, and then this sort of Hammond organ kind of comes in underneath. It's all very sort of floaty and spacious, and you know, lots of ambience. It's really, really, really beautiful. And then the bass kind of cuts in, and you've got this really full, rounded, driving bass, which sort of propels the song along. It has an absolutely wonderful flow. And I would say about this album is it just, you know, track after track, you just, you know, fast car, sorry, talking about Revolution, fast car, Across the Lines, Behind the Wall, Baby Can I Hold You. It's you know, side one's over before you've even thought about it. It's so captivating, and it just flows so absolutely beautifully. And it's that bass that kind of drives this, and it's a very sort of bouncy, flowing kind of thing. I could talk for hours and hours and hours about the actual music and the arrangements and the way this album goes. I mean, you've got Talking About A Revolution, which is, again, this massive sort of acoustic guitar and big bouncy bass. And Fast Car's kind of quite similar. Behind the Wall is a cappella. I mean, one of the most staggeringly arresting a cappella songs you've ever heard, I would say. And the way that ends, and then it just goes into, you know, the first note of Baby Can I Hold You. It is stunning. And then you got Mountains of Things, which is like just the, you know, the percussion and this sort of synth keyboard sounds. It's so sort of Peter Gabriel 4-ish, if you like. It's phenomenal. The album just flows, and it flows like a, you know, freely. And this is a really important thing that I wanted to get across. So that's the impression of the original. It flows. I mean, it's just a phenomenal piece of songwriting and performance and production, playing, you know. But if I was being slightly picky about it, it is a bit thin sort of sounding in the sort of the acoustic guitar and the vocal. It's a little bit sort of thin. It's a little bit edgy. If you remember me saying the bass really kind of drives and propels it. The drums on this, I find I've described them as a little bit wet fishy. You know, if you can imagine a sort of slapping someone with a place or a soul, or you know, there's no sort of weight or body to the drum hits. It's you know, more like a wet fish slap. That's being hyper critical and picky about the original, which, you know, if we never had the new one, everyone would be more than happy playing it, I'm sure, forever. It's a beautiful record, even though it's got that sort of leaning towards the sort of 80s thin, you know, sort of slightly forced digital, dare I say, openness. Okay, now we're going to go to the black one. So let me just put that one out of the way. So we come to the black one. Now, the first thing I'll point out is in here. You've got a nice stiff cover. The cover artwork is pretty much as good as the original, I would say. On the original, you do have a lined paper inner, whereas this you've got a much thicker inner, which is unlined. You know, I haven't yet, but I will put a anti-static inner inside of this. As I say, it's on 180 gram vinyl, cut by Bernie Grundman from, I would say, the Analog Masters, but well, they are Analog Masters, but let's not forget it's not an analog recording. So how does this black one sound? Right from the word go, there's more body and there's more colour and there's more texture in those opening sort of guitar notes. And then her voice comes in, and again it's slightly richer, there's slightly more body, and there's slightly rounder a voice. Less stark, if you like. And then the bass, I would say, is not quite as full and rounded, but there's a little bit more texture in it. The drums are definitely notably better, I would say. There's less of that sort of pathetic wet fish slap type of effect, and more of a driving drum. And I think the thing is that really on here, it is the drums that sort of drive the pace of the song and the rhythm, rather than the bass, which is sort of more the feeling you get from the original. So it sort of changes the sort of the dynamic, if you like, of the music. And if there was any negative about this, I would say it feels very, very, very slightly kind of turgid compared with the original. So it's sort of, it's lost its urgency just very slightly, and it hasn't quite got the energy and the immediacy of the original, even though it actually sounds more full, more rounded, and frankly more kind of real, less starkly sort of digitally etched, if you like, and open, but more sort of real and balanced. And I think as the album goes on and you listen to it, I think you do find that you know, you sort of acclimatise to that quite quickly, and this is a very, very, very nice listen. At times on the original, for instance, that sort of slight sort of digital openness, digital clarity, you know, starkness, gives a slightly sort of jangly quality to the guitar and a slightly edgy quality to her voice. And you don't really get that with this one. So I think, you know, all on balance, I would say this has got the edge. But I can actually imagine someone preferring the original, because it has got that sort of stark openness. It really, really, really has. And this one seems a little bit more balanced, rounded, and mellow. Okay? As I say, one of the things I wrote was sort of sounds like a real band. And also one of the things I wrote was, you kind of need both, because this one's got the sort of the familiar urgency. This one's a little bit more natural sounding. Okay? Now, this is where we got onto the third version, the red one. And I'm just going to show you that again. So all the inserts are identical to the new black one. And I will show you this, which is, I forgot to show you earlier. Basically, you've got the lyrics in 5 languages, which is, I think, is really, really, really cool. Because, you absolutely definitely want to listen to the lyrics of this album with things that are going on in the world right now. This feels incredibly poignant. It really, really, really does, So, here's that red one again. Now, the first thing I will say is I put this on, and I was kind of aware from actually cleaning it that it had a slight dish warp, and I'll put a little bit of a clip of video in here just to show that. It's quite a severe dish warp. Now that doesn't massively bother me because I have got a disc flattener. So I started playing side 1, which actually, because of the orientation of the dish warp, side 1 plays, it sits perfectly fine when you put a clamp on to sort of way down the middle. It sits fine. Now, we start off with Talkin Bout A Revolution. Right from the very, very, very first notes, it's very clear that this one is kind of a best of both worlds. It's got the sort of the more natural colour, the more weighty sort of drums, the more rounded natural quality to her voice, the more natural rounded quality to the acoustic guitar, and the drums have got a sort of a weight and body to them that they don't sound like, wet fish slaps. So, I just sat there like, oh wow, okay, here we go again. This is, another instance where, massively surprisingly, the coloured one seems to be the one to have. And then we got to this space, the gap between Talkin Bout A Revolution and Fast Car. And there was quite a bit of noise. And that noise distortion continued right through into the beginning of Fast Car, probably to sort of halfway through the track, maybe a third way through the track. I haven't played the whole of the rest of the album to see where, to see what it's like, but interesting, on this copy, there is a little visible mark, if not now, and I played that through, and that's actually silent. You can't hear that. But this is the second copy of the red one that I've had. Okay, because I got up, I played, and I started playing them, and it's unlistenable. The noise through the beginning of Fast Car, it's too loud. It's unlistenable. It's a pressing defect. I would suggest. I mean, it's not on the black one. So I went back down to my local record shop and changed it. So this is the second copy. Now, because my record cleaning procedure is quite lengthy and quite a palaver, I didn't want to spend an hour cleaning this. I just wanted to see if it had the noise. So I put this on and I played the end of Talkin Bout A Revolution and into Fast Car. And there's exactly the same noises there. So I will put a little clip of video here, I'll cut it off as soon as we get into Fast Car, just to, so I don't get copyright sort of block on this video. I'm sure you can hear it, and it's unacceptable. So I rang my local record shop again and said, look, it's exactly the same problem, because the supposition is that the whole batch is. Now they're going to order some more, and I will wait until they've got those, that next batch in. and I will go and swap it over again and see if, frankly, if that's noisy as well in the same place, then I'll get my money back. I think what I'll also do is I'll order an orange one from Amazon, because in the UK, I believe in the US, your record store exclusive or whatever is the orange one. Over here in the UK, it's the orange one is the Amazon special edition. So I'm gonna order an orange one anyway, definitely, because there is a difference in sound quality between the red and the black, unquestionably, and I prefer the red. But I've tried 2 red ones, and they are, it is only one section, but I love Fast Car as a track. It's one of my favorite. I mean, the whole album is actually just favorite track after favorite track. I think it's incredibly good as an album. It won loads of Grammys. It's all the praise it's received is entirely deserved. It's phenomenal. But very sadly, the best sounding version of it so far, which I've heard, is this red one, but it's faulty. Okay, and I've tried 2 copies and they're faulty in exactly the same space. So my advice is, I wouldn't shy away from buying the black one. It's a nice reissue. I think on balance, I think it's probably better than the original. It doesn't have that sort of etched clarity, but I think it actually sounds more natural for it. And but what's really irritating is that red one, which is it really has the sort of the verve and the va-va-voom, if you like, of the original, but with the more natural body and texture and weight and colour of the black one, of the new black one. So I don't really know what to say on that. I mean, or how to conclude more than that. It's. I'll tell you what I would love to know is there anyone else who's got an orange one or a red one that doesn't have noise on Fast Car. Okay, I've read somewhere or heard it was actually on a Steve Westman video when he was chatting about it, and someone said that on some forum somewhere they were talking about noise on the sort of the second half of Fast Car. Both of these, it's definitely at the beginning of Fast Car. But anyway, I want to know from anybody who's got a red or an orange one without noise, and if anyone else who's got a black one and a coloured one, and I'd be interested to know whether you agree that the coloured one has just got more life, more openness, more dynamics. Whether that's because the vinyl itself is quieter, that it could just be as simple as that. So the background noise floor drops and everything therefore leaps out a little bit more from it. It's an interesting one, but one of the most beautiful albums ever written and recorded, without any question. Incredibly poignant still to this day, perhaps even more so. Okay, I thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Heads up, next week's video I expect to be Ingenue from KD Lang. Okay, cheers. Bye for now. Bye.